Well, tonight marks the first episode of Her Say this year. I hope that you had a great one. Yes, I know you've met me, but today you meet me on Her Say. This moment where we get to have a conversation, with ladies of substance, just getting to understand what it has taken, a journey for them to get to levels that they are in. And so we'll be getting to that conversation shortly. But always it's important that we look at what is in the world of news. There's so much that we have prepared for you, and shortly we look at that as well. My name is Linda Alela. Karibu sana to this edition of TV47 Weekend, but of importance, Her Say. So just guess who we have tonight. Certainly a guest that you have perhaps just heard of, if not had a chance to interact with, and we'll be engaging her shortly. Just get to understand, who is she? What is she? What is this that she is doing? And why is it that whatever it is that she is doing is garnering so much so of momentum? You would want to call her Dr. Wala Amakove. But she says she is a conversationalist. Some of the people ask me just what is that? Dr. how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Linda.
It's good to have you this evening.
Asante sana.
So who is a conversationalist?
Someone who makes people talk, and especially uncomfortable topics.
Daktari is not so, I wouldn't say that she's that talkative. So how can she be a conversationalist, yet she is not one of them? So we'll be getting into that conversation shortly. Thank you so much for gracing the set tonight. We're looking forward to that conversation. But before then, let's take the highlights. Tonight on TV47 Weekend Edition, 2 people dead, a toddler hospitalized with serious injuries after a series of arson attack in South Alungo sublocation in West Seme Ward, Seme constituency.
Kusoma barua nikaona barua imeandikwa Esther Milome. Tumetumwa tukuchome kwa nyumba, tuchome boti yako ama tuchome huyu bwanako mwenye mko nayo.
And President William Ruto now wants the judiciary to come clean on corruption within the corridors of justice, vowing to keep on until he quashes graft in the country.
So mimi naambia wale wananipigia makelele na kunifanyia maandamano, nyinyi, tell us whether there is corruption in the judiciary or not.
Also, Mount Kenya region at crossroads as Gachagua Nyoro supremacy battles threaten to divide the region's unity.
How red is Ndindi Nyoro? Ndindi Nyoro's vehicle is even still in the garage. It doesn't even have wheels.
Only Rigathi Gachagua today can speak with authority anywhere in the country, not just in the region.
And Rhoda Nyamai is a sign language interpreter this evening. The hashtag is Her Say. We'll be looking at some of the questions that you'll send us as we continue with the broadcast. But for now, let's begin the broadcast, or let's begin the news. But then again, on an unfortunate point, and that residents of Alungo village in West Seme Kisumu County are living in fear following a sudden emergence of a criminal gang targeting homes and demanding cash and valuable items and threatening to set houses ablaze if their demands are not met. And as Elizabeth Atieno now reports, 3 homes have so far been torched, with a couple reportedly murdered during one of the incidents. Let's take a look at that.
This was once home to a family of 3, but it has since been reduced to ashes, claiming the lives of its occupants, Kennedy Odhiambo and his wife, Sheila Odhiambo, who were burned beyond recognition. Their 6-month-old son is currently nursing serious injuries at the Kombewa Sub-County Hospital.
Nimebaki mama mjane mwenye akona watoto 10. Hao wenye wakona hao watoto wengine na wao mama wengine. Niko na mtoto mwenye anaenda form 2. Wawili wako wanaenda 6. Wawili wanaenda 4. Wawili wako nursery. Mmoja kwa 1 na hao wengine wadogo. So serikali mnisaidie, sijui wenye nitaanza na watoto.
A mysterious criminal gang has been going round terrorizing villagers, demanding huge ransoms of money with 2 weeks' notice. Families that fail to pay get their houses torched in wee hours of the night.
Nilistuka kitu kama saa 8, kama nasikia light, naona light. Nilikuwa nafikiria ni jirani ndiye anamulika anaenda baharini. Kuangalia vizuri nikaona moto inawaka. Kuzima moto nikakaa chini, nikafikiria kupigia majirani. Nilipigia majirani, nilikosa simu ya majirani.
The first incident happened in November 2023 when a widow, Esther Mboya, found a notice written and placed on her doorstep. The letter read, and I quote, "We have been sent to ban you and your house. We are giving you a notice of 2 weeks to pay 50,000 Kenya shillings to the number that is written here, failure to which we will ban you down." End of quote.
Kusoma barua nikaona barua imeandikwa Esther Milome. Tumetumwa tukuchome kwa nyumba, tuchome boti yako, ama tuchome huyu bwanako mwenye mko nayo. Mimi bwanangu alikufa 2010, ndio kwa maana niliishi na huyo jamaa mwenye alikuwa anataka kuchoma.
The villagers today held peaceful demonstrations condemning the act and calling upon the security in charge to take action and bring the culprits to book.
Sasa insecurity is very poor katika South Alungo. Sasa tunaomba serikali hata tuwasaidie namna gani. Hao watu wote wanaendaga barini. Sasa wamama, mimi nikitoka bibi ananiambia tutaenda na wewe, na wanaogopa kukaa kwa nyumba.
The area assistant chief Shadrack Oluoch told the press that the police have commenced investigations into the incident. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47.
Certainly an unfortunate piece there. Now, 2 people have died in Silibwet, Bomet County after a section of a quarry they had sought shelter from the ongoing rains collapsed in on them. This occurs even as rains continue to affect daily life in the capital city of Nairobi, causing huge traffic snarl-ups in major roads and in the central business district. Homes and businesses in Kitengela and Garden Estate got hit hardest due to poor drainage, as Kisewe Emory details.
Tonight, the heavy downpour pounding various parts of the country is turning into showers of death and destruction in some parts of the country. 2 people have been killed at a quarry earlier today in Silibwet, Bomet County after reportedly taking shelter from the heavy rains that continue to bombard the area. Witnesses say that the 2 were taking shelter at a nearby section of the quarry when it caved in, killing them both. In Nairobi, certain areas have been gravely affected with rainfall, causing roads to flood, causing massive snarl-ups on certain major roads due to a lack of drainage. In a section of the posh Garden Estate, residents woke up to a rude shock to find their compounds full of rainwater.
This time we've had flooding in this house since last evening at 7 p.m. and right now is around 1 p.m. So we've been underwater for that long. And it's a difficult situation because what has happened is that with the heavy rains, the effect of the constructions and people not honoring and respecting the bylaws of this city now have come to hit us.
According to Alex Mwathi, a resident of the palatial estate, his neighbors built on riparian land, causing the area to flood and destroying household property worth significant amounts of money.
Someone has actually built a wall and blocked a waterway. And we've discussed with him this morning, and he's told me to go wherever I want to go. He's not going to do anything about it. He claims that his house has no water, so why would he bother?
Elsewhere, tens of families in Nunkopir area, Kitengela, Kajiado County, have been displaced by floods following a heavy downpour in the area. Residents say that they fear an outbreak of waterborne diseases and increased respiratory complications if urgent measures are not put in place, with businesses in the area being greatly affected due to the flooding.
Hii maji imekiri biashara hata ifanyiki kwa maana hakuna mteja anaweza simama kwa hiyo maji.
The Kenya Meteorological Department issued an advisory on the imminent occurrence of intense rainfall across the various regions of the country over the next 7 days. According to the agency, the areas primarily affected will include the Western, Lake Victoria Basin, Rift Valley, Central Highlands, including Nairobi, Southeastern and South Coast regions. Kisewa Emory, TV47.
Now, Kenyans working for organizations with diplomatic agreements with Kenya, that is including the United Nations, who have not been paying taxes will soon be deducted pay as you earn, that is payee, every month. That is if the latest communication by the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs is anything to go by. The move is seen as Kenya Kwanza's administration's bid to widen the tax bracket, as George Maringa tells us.
I have the honor to welcome His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya.
It is not a secret that the president has set an ambitious target for tax collection in the country. And now the government is going for tax-exempt Kenyans working for international organizations. The Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs has issued a circular asking all organizations that have signed host country agreements with Kenya to facilitate payment of income tax for their local staff. The host country agreements, a type of international social security agreement, is usually in line with the United Nations Conventions on Diplomacy. The Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs in its letter says, Section 37 of the Income Tax Act, Chapter 470, Laws of Kenya provides that, and I quote, an employer paying emoluments to an employee shall deduct therefrom and account for tax thereon to such extent and in such manner as be described. This places responsibility on such organizations as employers to deduct income tax from local staff and remit it to the Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA. Some of the organizations with host country immunity with Kenya include Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the United Nations Environment Program UNEP, MasterCard Foundation, European Investment Bank, and the World Agroforestry Center, ICRAF. Article 5, Section 18 of the Convention on the Privileges and Immunities of the United Nations, adopted in 1946, officials of the United Nations shall, among other privileges, be exempt from taxation on the salaries and emoluments paid to them by the United Nations. Data from the United Nations shows that more than 18 UN agencies operate in Kenya, employing some 5,000 local and international staff. This includes 2 United Nations programs, the United Nations Environment Program UNEP and the UN Human Settlements Program, that is UN Habitat, which have their global headquarters in Kenya, making Nairobi the only United Nations headquarters duty station in the developing world. In the meantime, the National Social Security Fund NSSF deductions on pay above 36,000 Kenya shillings will double. Effective February 2024, NSSF contributions will go up from the current 1,080 shillings to 2,160 shillings. Both employer and employee will match equal contributions of 6% of the employee's earnings up to the figure defined as the lower earnings limit for the year. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, George. Now, President William Ruto has rubbished the protests held on Friday by the Law Society of Kenya, urging members of the judiciary to come clean on instances of graft in the corridors of justice. The president, who was speaking in Nakuru, has vowed to stay put, further hinting at continuing with the projects flagged by the judiciary.
The rift between the two arms of government is likely to widen even further as both sides seem to remain adamant in the hard stance positions. Just a day after lawyers through their Law Society of Kenya organized demonstrations to compel the government to respect the judiciary instead of attacking the crucial department, Ruto once again came out gun blazing, condemning the protest that happened yesterday.
Hakuna vile Kenya itasonga mbele if we don't finish this matter of corruption. Tunaelewana ama tuelewane? So mimi naambia wale wananipigia makelele na kunifanyia maandamano, nyinyi, tell us whether there is corruption in the judiciary or not. Usifanye maandamano tu bure.
The head of state says he will not relent on people trying to pull down his agenda and that he must end corruption in the corridors of justice. At the same time, he asked lawyers to be at the forefront in fighting corruption.
Hakuna vile Kenya itasonga mbele if we don't finish this matter of corruption.
Na uko na plan na manifesto yako ambaye ulinegotiate na watu ya Kenya wakakupatia nafasi wewe kaa hapo kwa hiyo manifesto yako na hao wa Kenya watafaidika.
The president's statement comes even after the Chief Justice Martha Koome asked the president to substantiate his claims and table evidence showing how corruption is being carried out in courts.
The Judicial Service Commission, which is the body mandated by the Constitution to deal with matters of complaints, will only act on the basis of evidence and not on blanket statements or allegations.
The president, who was speaking at the launch of the affordable housing project in Bondeni area, Nakuru County, has indicated that the obstacles he finds in the courts will not become thresholds to drop down his agenda for Kenyans.
Alafu kuna watu wengine wanasema tusimamishe hii program. Nyinyi mnataka hii program isimame ama iendelee? Si ndio sababu tupange ajira ya hawa vijana? Ama namna gani ndugu zangu?
While all this is happening, leaders allied to Kenya Kwanza have blamed the courts for blocking president's agenda.
Peleka mgonjwa unaambiwa atafanyiwa chemo session 3, hizi zingine ni cha FIDP. Si ndio tunaambiangwa hivyo? Ile sheria tulipitisha bungeni, ugonjwa kama cancer na chronic diseases zote ulikuwa ulipiwe na NHIF fully bila kulipa hata dururu. Hiyo ndio sheria tulipitisha bungeni. Na wale opponent wetu wakaona hii ikipita kwa wananchi ni kama hii serikali imemaliza kazi.
The Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Akumicha, who was part of the leaders' delegation attending the burial ceremony of Gladi Wanjiku, the sister to the PS for Health Mary Muriuki, says the move will deny Kenyans an opportunity of getting health services.
Na muombe judges waone kuna wale wa Kenya ambao wanahitaji kuhudumiwa kwa sababu wako na diabetes, wako na hypertension, wako na cancer na hawana pesa ya kulipa. Mtuombe.
Paul Kerobi, TV47.
In the same breath, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has slammed President William Ruto over his continued attacks on judiciary, urging the number one in command to keep off judiciary for its independence to thrive, insisting that as leaders and lawyers they will continue to call him out on his attacks. Speaking at Makueni County, where he attended the burial of Wiper Treasurer John Moya, Father the Wiper leader criticized the housing program, which he insists is a burden of Kenyans who are already overtasked, and they affirmed, or as he affirmed, that his plan to run for the top seat come 2027 are on.
Nasema hii serikali ya Kenya Kwanza wataingia katika historia ya nchi hii kwamba they are most obnoxious type of administration. Hey, you can't do those things. You can't. If you believe in the rule of law, you cannot. Therefore, the matter of independence of our judiciary is not negotiable. Cannot even, in fact, I want to say, we put a stop to this thing. Kama executive nataka kuendelea kupiga kelele, waendelee, but let the judicial arm of government continue working as Chief Justice Martha Koome alisema jana.
Just respect each other, tufanye kazi pamoja. Wewe ukitoa yako, watu wanasikiza. Parliament ikitoa yao, watu wanasikiza. Judiciary ikitoa yao, watu wanafanya nini? Kwa sababu those institutions are not yet. Na kuna watoto. Hii iko na legislature, judiciary and executive. Watu wakiheshimiana kwa nyumba wataishi na nini? Na amani.
Kushuka kutoka kwa mti afike chini aongee na wananchi wa kawaida, ameshuka kwa mti akaingia kwa gari, anaenda kualilia kila mahali. Mahakama kuna ufisadi. Sio mahakama ndio ilikuweka. Kwa hivyo uliwekwa kiufisadi, si utoke. Tunambembeleza nini? Sababu mahakama imesema ile ushuru natoa wa Kenya ya nyumba, it is unconstitutional. And I want to challenge the judiciary. I want to see the judge who will go against that ruling.
Now, Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro's endorsement to succeed President William Ruto by UDA members of Parliament, that is from the central Kenya region, this week has divided the populous Mount Kenya region into two camps. One supporting Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and the other the Member of Parliament of Kiharu. Supremacy generational battle has seen Nyoro's staunch allies state he is the region's kingpin, despite Gachagua's occupying the foremost role as the senior-most leader from the region by the virtue of his role as the Deputy President. Apollo Kamau with that.
Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro's endorsement as President William Ruto's possible successor by Central Kenya UDA MPs has caused a political storm in the restless region, still divided on who is the kingpin between Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and now Ndindi Nyoro.
This is a presidential material. Tuihamwe. Na ukisikia nikisema hivyo, mimi naitwa Elijah. Na Elijah unajua ni prophet.
Sisi twamtambua Ndindi Nyoro kiongozi wetu.
Critics and allies of the Deputy President declare the succession talk to be premature and likely to backfire on Nyoro, who has not stayed away from commenting on his presidential ambitions on social media pages.
Raila didn't go and pick Kibaki from Wadhaya. Kibaki was already there. He was already, alikuwa ameiva. Kibaki was ready. So Kibaki Tosha just pushed a vehicle that was ready to go. How ready is Ndindi Nyoro? Ndindi Nyoro's vehicle is even still in the garage. It doesn't even have wheels. So if somebody toshes you when you are not even half ready, they are destroying you. Why? Because then Ndindi Nyoro becomes a marked man.
I think it's a bit too early for any politician to be thinking about who is going to be the president after William Ruto when he's only been in office for 2 years. It's actually disrespectful to President William Ruto that you have already moved beyond him to the point where you're now discussing how you're going to take over after him. Right now, I think everybody who is a friend of the president should be supporting the president to achieve the goals and the plan that he has come up with. And remember, we are living in a very difficult time.
If I were Ndindi Nyoro, I will not go that way. If I were anybody else from Central, I will not go that way. One, Central needs to be united. And already, Central had accepted the Deputy President to be Rigathi Gachagua. Yes. So as of now, the leadership of UDA, all Kenyans know, we have a leader and a deputy, and one deputy, not two. Yes. So to me, going the way they are trying to do, it will hurt the party.
Talk has been made of a plot to destabilize Gachagua's presidential bid and divide the region, but young leaders dismiss the narrative, claiming that it is time for a generational takeover. The Deputy President, while on a tour of Nyandarua this week, prevailed upon the young generation to allow the old guard serve their terms.
Mimi nilisema kuna kijana moja yuko na ambitions. Na ninaomba tu, the fact that the young generations have ambitions, we should not be restricted from pronouncing, because we'll be choking their dreams at the expense of preserving the feelings of others.
Hii maneno ya generational change, youth versus wazee, kwanza tuache. Uchaguzi iko 2027, tufanyie wananchi kazi, turudishe William Ruto na Rigathi Gachagua. 2032 tukuje tuangalie.
Lakini I want to tell those that are talking about generational change that yes, it's early, but no one can stop an idea whose time has come.
He's the most senior politician in the order of things. And that's why I'm finding it odd that junior politicians should come up with the name of Ndindi Nyoro. It can't be from their own. It must be part of a wider scheme to get rid of DP Gachagua.
Apart from the rebellions talking in his UDA party, Gachagua is also in a dilemma. Former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga is also positioning himself as the region's kingpin, with a host of former President Uhuru Kenyatta's allies also seeking to edge him out in the region's succession arithmetic.
I don't think he has quite jellied even with the Mount Kenya mafia, if you want to call them like that. I don't think he has quite jellied. His brand of politics doesn't endear him, for example, to the rich club of Mount Kenya, I suspect.
Only Rigathi Gachagua today can speak with authority anywhere in the country, not just in the region. So again, the regional conversation becomes complicated when you have Rigathi in office. If we didn't have a deputy president from the region, there could be some competition about the region and regional kingpinship. Right now, the regional kingpinship is Rigathi's to lose. Over the next couple of years, how he will navigate, how he will deal with the issues that are of interest to the region, the coffee, the tea, the milk, the small businesses.
During a burial in Meru last year, Gachagua said he is not interested in what he termed as kingpin nonsense. Apul Kamau, TV47.
And as they say, you're reminded that matters of politics, you do not store them or keep them in your heart. And to a rather unfortunate one, again, numerous questions continue to surround the death of a grade 6 pupil whose decomposing body was found in the ceiling of Mokoyuet Primary School located in Kiminini constituency, Trans Nzoia County. While the school is closed until Monday next week, pending investigations, our correspondent Isaac Famba caught up with the family of the deceased and has prepared the following report.
Traveled to the home of the late Triza Nekesa, a 12-year-old pupil whose body was found on the ceiling of an ECD class in a school a few days ago. According to the late grandfather, Frederick Nyongesa, November 24th last year was the last time the pupil was seen at home.
Kuanzia saa 12 ndio ripoti nilipigia nikiwa town Kitale, nikiwa na tukutuku nikapigiwa simu ati mwili umepatikana ya Triza Nekesa kwa shule ya Mokoyuet. Ndio nilipoenda mpaka hapo nikapata yenyewe mwili imeletwa district, nikaangalia kweli nikapata ni mjukuu yangu.
Na tukachukua jukumu ya kuuliza na kuangalia ceiling board hiyo, mbona mtoto huyu alienda namna gani. Kuangalia naweza kuwa urefu ya kuenda juu ilikuwa urefu hata mtu mkubwa hawezi simama.
45 days later, the search reached a painful end after pupils smelled a stench from a body from the ceiling of the same classroom.
Kwa sababu mwenye alikuja kupata huyo mtoto, walisema saa ingine popo imekufia huko juu, na kumbe si popo. Kuangalia namna hivi wakaona ni mtoto.
The government through the DCI department has been requested to speed up its investigation towards the death of the pupil.
Huu mama kwa nini hajai kutuambia kwamba huyu mtoto hayuko kwa boma? Mimi ndio mwenyekiti wa nyumba 10 Mokoyuet hii. Kwa tunakaa mikutano za nyumba 10, kwa tunaongea, lakini hiyo habari tu kutokezea kwamba kwa kijiji yote kwamba mtoto hayuko kwa hii boma haijaitoka. Sasa hiyo ndio ilitushangaza, imetushutua. Ile tu kitu tunataka kuinsist ni mtoto mwenye sisi tunajua hapa, ni mtoto mwenye amelelewa hapa. Tunataka tujue exactly ni nini ilifanyika mpaka mtoto apatikane wapi kwa ceiling.
However, the school management led by head teacher Douglas Amadia said the investigation report currently indicates that the child may have been killed before the body was carried and dumped into the classroom. Currently, many questions are being raised about the environment on how the dead's body was found. How did she climb on the ceiling of this classroom, which was about 10 feet, without using a ladder? How was the body found near the window of the ceiling? Why was the blood flow from the roof to the classroom floor? And finally, how did she pass through the main gate towards the class? Isaac Famba, TV47. Trans Nzoia County.
All right, President William Ruto has reiterated his government's efforts to strengthen the country's economy through the growth and strengthening of industry in the country, despite the burden of debt burdening this nation. He said this during the development visit to Nakuru County, as our reporter Willie Dennis Njiru tells us.
While on his development tour in the Maimahiu area of Nakuru County, where he inaugurated a 700 million shilling small power station that will supply electricity in that special economic area, President Ruto has defended his trip to foreign countries as having borne fruit.
All these zones, special economic zones, are important for manufacturing, for industrialization, for making sure that we attract foreign direct investment that will be invest in these zones. Statistics already show, and those of you who follow world trends, is that Kenya in 2024 has been listed as the third most attractive destination for investment in the world.
The president challenged locals to take over 3,000 job opportunities up for grabs at the onset of the first phase of the development by the 7 international companies.
Hizo kampuni 6 wataongeza hapa karibu bilioni 30 na kuajiri watu zaidi ya 3,000 kwa sasa kwa sehemu hii. So nyinyi wananchi wa hapa Nakuru, wananchi wa Narok, wananchi wa sehemu hii, mjipange, hapa ndio nyinyi mtakuwa mstari ya mbele kufanya kazi.
Today, 7 international companies that include glass and steel plants and Japan Auto Auctions were awarded licenses to commence developments around the zone that will pump up over 30 billion shillings.
Hii magari yote ambayo inaletwa Toyota na hiyo ingine kutoka Japan, sasa tumekubaliana na hiyo kampuni ambayo tunaenda kuanzisha sehemu yao, watakuwa ni watu ya kwanza kupatiwa hii stima tumeanzisha hapa.
On underlying servicing of the zone, the government advanced water connectivity where 5,000 acres have been added to the existing 1,000 acres for the developments.
Tulikubaliana tutaleta stima na tutaleta maji. Tayari maji iko katika sehemu hii. We have finished the water program.
The Toyota auction will commence April